What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. In this video, we'll be creating very basic but scalable commands for you to use on your server and for you to use in your script. Make sure you guys also hit that like and subscribe button because only 50% of you guys are actually subscribed. It helps me a bunch. It's free. Make sure you guys use code Twisle and Iceline Hosting to get 50% off your first month if you're looking for a great server host. Alright, so let's get right into the coding here. So first, we're going to start with the FxManifest and just type out fx_version. There's going to be some weird word called Sirluin. I'm not really the best at spelling it, but it just lets you know what version it is. And then just do game, which is obviously GTA 5, so just put GTA 5. And then you have your description here, but it doesn't really matter that much. You don't really have to put it. All you really need is just to point what scripts do what. So just do shared_scripts and then put your Config.lua file in there so it knows what file is your Config.lua. Next thing you want to do is your server_scripts, which just points at your server scripts. So it's just server/server.lua because we have our server.lua file inside of a folder. So that's all you got to do there. Next thing you want to do the same thing, but for client. So it's just client_scripts and then put it in a bracket and then client/client.lua. Next thing you want to do, make sure you do Lua 554, which is Lua just 5.4, and just type yes. The next thing here is kind of just this strung out thing. I have no clue what it does. I just put it in everything, and everything always has it. So yeah, just put that there too. So next thing, let's start our config. We'll build out our config here, and it's just a basic config. So just type out your config equals brackets. Next thing we're going to do is config.format types, which is just going to point to our different types of formats, so we don't have to really just duplicate them all the time. We can just point to one thing. Actually, just did the debug there instead. So sorry, guys, I'm doing a voiceover here because I record the entire video without audio. So yeah. So just do format type, and then it's just going to be bold first here. And so this is just going to point to a string that actually has our up caret and then which up arrow, and then the symbol that points to actually what type of formatting we're doing. So next we're going to do underline, and it's just going to be an up arrow and a underscore. Next what we're going to do here is strike through, which is just going to be an up arrow again, and then just a tilde, which is the key next to the 1 to the left. Next thing we're going to do is, I think, under and strike. Yep. And it's just going to be an up arrow and an equal sign. Next thing we're going to do here is all of them, but I'm going to switch it to everything here for some reason, and it's just going to be a up arrow again, and a symbol that I don't know yet, or an asterisk. I don't know. I can't read it. My Premiere Pro sucks. So you guys could probably see it better than me. And then it's an up arrow and then an equal sign again. So that is just how you do the format type. It's pretty simple, actually. So we'll just call to this in our commands list so we'll know what formatting to do on our objects or on our commands. So we're going to make a table here for basic commands. So these commands are just going to be, you type a command and it gives you a response. That's all it's going to do. There's going to be no functions or anything right now. We'll add that in later. So it's going to be a table, and then it's going to be another table that actually holds all the command data itself. So put your squiggly brackets here, and first thing we're going to do is trigger. So this is actually what we have to do is slash to type. And next thing we're going to do is header. So this is the thing that appears as like the person that's typing it. So this is kind of, we're just going to put script. You can put whatever you want. Honestly, in all this, you can put whatever you want, but it doesn't really matter. Next thing we're going to do response, which is actually going to be is what it says back in the chat. So yeah, it just puts in the chat. Next thing we're going to do is color. So it's just going to be an RGB, which is we're just going to put it into a table. So we can just do color equals color when we set up the chat message. And next thing we're going to do is format. Is just going to point to a position on our format types table. So that's why we did it like that. So it'd be super simple. And we make it a little more prettier here so it's a little easier to read. All right, so we're gonna make a second command here. So I can show you how it works, like the color and everything. So then we're just gonna change it to green instead, and then change the format so you can see how it works in different ways. The underline instead. All right, so now let's go over to our Client.lua file. So here's where we're actually going to build out the logic for it. So create a thread and delete the loop inside of it because we don't need a loop. We don't need a while loop. We need a for loop. So create your for loop here. We're going to put our parameter as or whatever. I don't know what the technical term is, but in pairs config.basic command so we can loop through that entire table. So we're going to do register command inside of this for loop so the command gets registered within it. So for the command name, we're going to do command.trigger, so it points to that trigger that we created, and inside of it, a function will be called. And we're going to trigger the event chat add message, so it actually sends a message in the chat for us, which you comment down and add squigglies for your parameters. First parameter is going to be color, which we already did, which needs to be a table, which ours is a table. That's why I did it like that. Next thing here is going to be multi-line. It is something that's there that you should just have anyways. It's self-explanatory. It's multi-line, and you should just enable it anyways. Next thing is going to be args. It's a table. So your first thing is going to be your header of the table, and we're going to do command.header, which is that. Yep. And then we're going to do ... because we're going to concatenate a colon in here so it looks a little bit cleaner. But first we need to make it white because it's going to take the color of whatever that color is we assign. So that's what that up arrow 7 is. So then we're going to do a comma because this will actually where the response is going to be here instead. So this thing to do is command.format because we want to grab the format we use and then concatenate it together with command.response so they're joint together so it actually takes the formatting that we set up. So that is how you do that. So we're going to test it here, ensure it, and then run the command. But we are actually going to get an error because I, as you all know, if you're a regular on the channel, is I suck at typing, at spelling, and it took me a while to figure out what was wrong here. But if you look at argument here, I didn't spell command. I forgot the D. But if you just do the command here again, then it works. There you go. Hello there. And if you do the second one, you can see it's green and has an underline instead. Okay, so now we'll set up some logic to actually make it so we can call functions for these commands. So I have this function command logic here. So what we're going to do is we're going to teleport somewhere when we actually trigger that command. Just make sure I forgot to put local function. Just make sure you do that. So we're going to grab the vector here right there on line 1. Make sure you do local function. It doesn't need to be a global. So we're going to assign our 2 chords there. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the command that we actually want this logic to happen on. So I'm going to call it mount, and we're going to name it here. Mount was just supposed to be meant for mountain because I'm teleporting to the top of a mountain. So to actually check if we should call this logic or not, we're going to do an if statement here. And we will trigger this function here if the command trigger equals mount. There we go. So now when that event gets triggered, we will actually call that function. And if it's not, then the function won't get called. So next thing we do, we'll set up the logic here. So get your player pet ID, which is your, getting your player pet ID. If you're doing FiveM, you should know that. And next thing we're gonna do is we're actually set the entity chords because we want to go to that location. So we gotta set the course here. So it's just the vector 3 of where you want to go. So we're gonna do X. I'm gonna copy it here, so I just can paste it through and make this video a little bit shorter here. And everything after this, these booleans, it's just true, false, 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 true. Okay, there wasn't a true at the end. I was wrong. Now, the next thing we do is set the entity heading because we want them to look in the direction we wanted it to go. And make sure you assign your entity that you're actually setting the logic for. Oh, and I'm dead. All right. And if I teleport away and then ensure the script here. Oh, I ensured it first. If we teleport away. and then teleport there. You can see it actually moves us to where we need to go. It's pretty simple there, actually, to add your own logic like that into it. But what if you want to do it differently, right? What if you want to do in a net event instead? Or you need to trigger some logic on the server? You can do the same sort of thing, but with events instead. So we're going to create a net event here, and we're going to name it properly to how we should name it, which should be the name of your script, what side it's on, and what it's doing, if you're not trying to hide it. So then we're going to take all the logic from our function there, which I could have just called the function inside there instead, but didn't do that. We're going to go to our config here, and you're just going to add the header events and then put the event name, but I didn't do it in the right command in the first place. And so you just add event there, and all you got to do here is comment that out because we don't want to call it twice. You can just do if command to make sure the event is really there. So command.event. You don't need to put not. I was wrong there, but I will eventually remove it here when it doesn't work. And then you just trigger event inside that if statement. It's really just that simple how to do that. So I'm gonna go in here and try to test something that won't work because I'm testing to see if it's actually false when I should be testing to see if it's true. So just remove the not, and it will null check. It should null check and check to see if it's present. There you go. So it's that simple just to call an event, just like that. You can call a client event. Next thing you want to do, but what if you want to do a server event? So you just do event type, so we can know what type of event to call. So for this one will be server, for example. All you got to do here is you just do if command.event type equals server, then you actually trigger server event instead of just triggering an event. And then you just do an else statement here for our just a regular event. It's just like that. There you go. I was going to say it's that simple, but I've said that so many times already. So we'll just create our sample event here in the server file just so we have it. And we're going to take that here and we're just going to change from client to server so you guys can see how that works. And then we're going to change it here in the config so it triggers the correct event. And we're going to put my debug function, but it's orange because that's actually not, that event isn't present. So I'm going to grab it from my notes here. So that function, or I keep saying event, so this function will actually call and work. There we go. So it's just a debug function. It's a very nice function. So I'm going to test the event here, and nothing prints because I'm getting confused because I'm calling a print statement on the server, but I'm looking in the client, and the only thing is it's actually printing in the server console. So you guys can see here, it was printing right there in the server console. I was just too stupid to remember I was printing it in the server console. But as you can see, I'm recording this at like 4 in the morning. So yeah, it's just that easy to make it any way you want. You can scale as much as you want. You can downscale as much as you want. It's pretty simple. I'm just giving you guys a foundation on how things work. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And have a good rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you're on the world. And peace out.